Hi guys, Tasha Rose with Radical Mothering, and I am taking part today in a collaboration with Laura from What Laura Likes. I will link her down below. We're going to each of us be tackling a chapter out of the book Anti-Feminist Exposed, Rescuing the Culture from Toxic Femininity by Carrie Gress. I'm really excited about this book. And if you want to hear more about my thoughts on it, stick around. So at first I want to say, if you're new here, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. Sorry, I'm kind of bumping around a little bit. Once again, I'm up in my room. My room that I'm planning on turning into a studio isn't quite done yet because I've gotten sidetracked with a few other things, but it's happening. So this book, The Anti-Feminist Exposed, like I said, this is a collaboration with Laura. I have a lot to say about this whole book though, so I am planning on doing a couple more videos about it, and I'm going to kind of treat it like a series about my exodus from the left and from feminism itself. Because I feel like as a practicing traditional Catholic woman who used to be on the left, I think that I have got a pretty unique perspective, especially because I did dive in really deep with radical feminism for a long while, and went to Catholic in name only women's college, and am really well versed in feminism. And I think that a lot of anti-feminists who never were feminists get a lot of things wrong and misunderstand quite a few things. But overall, I think I've got quite a different perspective on these things than, say, your run-of-the-mill anti-Catholic, or anti-feminist, or your run-of-the-mill Catholic who has ire for feminism. So in this book, The Anti-Feminist Exposed, Carrie Gress talks a lot about kind of this development of feminism in the West that has stripped our complementarity from us between men and women, and really debased women as a whole. One thing I will say that I think that Carrie does get wrong in this book has to do with the first wave of feminism. Externally, it looks fine and dandy. Let's give women the right to vote, and, get women involved in politics and whatnot. But I think that on closer examination, and sorry, I'm just looking out the window. I'm watching some really pretty clouds go by. I think that on closer examination, it really ends up panning that even the first wave of feminists were out for destroying the family. And that's really what the ultimate goal of feminism is anyhow, is the destruction of family, whether or not they want to overtly say it or not. Though there are quite a lot of documented instances where feminists have outright said, it's the destruction of the family. Even modernly, there's this feminist quote-unquote thinker, Sophie Lewis, who believes that the family should just be wiped off the map. That if you have children, that they don't belong to you, that they belong just to the state, and that we should be communally raising all children and not have defined families at all. And that's completely bonkers. And that's really the end goal. I mean, that's the end goal here. And the chapter that I'm discussing is chapter 4, and has to do with the communists in Bolshevik Russia, and what their impact was, and the correlation between Bolshevik Russia and modern feminism and egalitarianism. Okay, so what I want to say about this chapter is it reminds me so much of some of the topics that Daniel Moody brings up in his book Flesh Made Word, about disassociating who we are as human beings. And this is something that if you follow me on social media, I actually talk about quite a lot. One of the major things that I pointed out here, or underlined here, was on page 50. And it was Alexandra Kollontai, the head of the Soviet Women's Department, said, "The shackles of family, of the housework, of prostitution still weigh heavily on the working woman. Working women and peasant women can only rid themselves of this situation and achieve equality in life itself and not just in law if they put all their energies into making Russia a truly communist society." The Bolsheviks severed the tie between motherhood and womanhood. These same ideas would be echoed in the women's liberation movement in the West several decades later. And that's completely accurate. And we can see that playing out specifically with the transgender movement. I'm sure that you've seen videos or news clippings or whatever where man gives birth, or pregnant man, or this man gave birth with his female partner who's not really female, who's a male, and they used some other male's sperm, but they called the sperm female sperm. I mean, it's crazy, this complete disassociation of womanhood and motherhood. Do all women give birth? No, but only women give birth. And when we see this playing out now, that we're saying that trans identified female people are actually men who are giving birth, we've completely detached what it means to be a mother. And it's really interesting because, you know, for a while, feminists would always be championing the beauty and the joy of being a woman. And, you know, there is no shame in being a woman, and don't be ashamed and don't be afraid to be who you are. Remember, I am woman, hear me roar. But now it's, if you say you're a woman, you're a bigot. You know, and if you ask what is a woman, you're called a bigot. And if you ask what is a woman, there's a circular definition of anybody who says they're a woman is a woman. What's a woman? Anybody who says they're a woman is a woman. Yeah, okay, but what's a woman? Anybody who says that they're a woman is a woman. So we've completely dissociated not only what we are, who we are as women, but the fact that motherhood is only attainable by womanhood. And that's really what one of the end goals here was. And let me see here. There was another one. Turning the natural and supernatural orders, they become obstacles in order to create this communist utopia of humanity. And this is really what the aim of feminism is. Let's see. There was another one that I wanted to read to you here. Here's what it was. Let's see. One of the real triumphs of Soviet Russia to be women's liberation from menial tasks at home. Radical feminist Shula Smith Firestone took one step further when she wrote feverishly about eliminating gender differences. The end goal of the feminist revolution must be, unlike that of the first feminist movement, not just the elimination of male privilege, but of the sex distinction itself. Genital differences between human beings would no longer matter culturally. And now what do we see? We see, sorry, I forgot to turn my volume off. We see these arguments between lesbians and trans identified men who are calling themselves women. We see the argument about whether or not they should be included in lesbian circles because, well, they identify as women and lesbians are attracted to women. But lesbians who aren't buying this line are saying things like, well, we're not attracted to people with penises. And they won't say men. People with penises. Like, we know that those are men. Everybody knows that those are men. So your genitals matter. Your genitals are part of who you are. The fact that you have, you know, these reproductive organs matters. And that's really what a lot of this changing of human nature, this change, and that's the title of the chapter 2, The Big Lie, Changing of Human Nature. It's part of what the whole aim is and what we are legitimately seeing play out today. Let's see here. She goes on to write, we have to ignore the fact that some women have babies and are physically weaker on the whole than men. We have to ignore the fact that transgendered men who transition to women are not really women. And we have to ignore the fact that there is no physical way that two men can have a baby, even if they feel entitled to parenthood at any cost. Like communism before it, all differences in reality must be overlooked to conform to the ideological narrative. So there we go, with the parenthood thing, parenthood at any cost. You know, we see, like I mentioned already, we see trans identified women who are female human beings calling themselves men and being lauded as pregnant men. Or we see the explosion of gay men buying babies out of women's bodies, commodifying the bodies of women, and feminism being okay with this. Because that's the end goal. Now, I will put a little asterisk in here and say there are some feminists who do speak out against this stuff. And I think that a lot of anti-feminists don't actually know that, because I often hear the refrain, well, where are the feminists? Where are the feminists? There are feminists who do speak out on this kind of stuff. There are feminists who aren't entirely detached from the reality of the human body. And I know a lot of them, and I love a lot of them. I'm very close friends with a lot of them, in fact. And they aren't disassociated from the human body in this regard. And they fight, and they are in Washington filing amicus briefs and whatnot to protect the rights of women and girls and our bodily autonomy and our right to say no to men in sex segregated spaces and such like that, and our right to retain the name girl and the name woman and the name mother and what those words actually mean. So I just wanted to point that out, because I think that it's really important to know for anti-feminists to know that there are feminists that actually do champion for women against these things, surrogacy and prostitution and the transgender movement. The one thing that we miss them on, it regards, well, I should say two things, is homosexuality and abortion. There's a lot in here. Like I said, there's a lot in here. There's stuff about, the early feminist movements, and that is the second wave of the feminist movement, and things in this book that in all of the time that I spent as a feminist, I didn't even know about certain players in the feminist movement that I was stunned by, honestly. And it really is, in hindsight, it all really is very much an anti-Marian. And I like how she presented this too. If there is an antichrist, a spirit of the antichrist, then there is undoubtedly also a spirit of an anti-Mary, because she is really the pinnacle of who we should be striving to be like as women. She's the model example of womanhood. And to see so much playing against that, women renting their bodies out to create babies for other people, that creates there's a serious primal loss there. That mother bond that gets broken when a woman gives her baby away, and that is her baby. Her mitochondrial DNA is imprinted in that baby, whether or not sperm and egg were from her, the egg rather was from her as a surrogate. That her mitochondrial DNA is still in that baby. Or women being forced to give away their babies via adoption because they've got no support system, or worse yet, women being forced to kill their babies. And I say forced because I do not believe that a woman in her right mind in a supportive society would ever choose abortion. Never. And so saying that, I strongly believe that there is no woman in her right mind who's having an abortion. And, you know, that might offend. And I'm really sorry for you if you feel that abortion was your way out or whatever. I'm genuinely sad for you because society owed you more. One more point that I wanted to make up. I heard something the other day about the family, the Greek word polis, as in like metropolis. The Greek word polis meaning family of families. Society is built around the family. It is the basis of society, and women run that. The adage, the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world, is spot on, because we are forming society in our homes. And now look at what has happened. We have abdicated our roles in the home, and I'm not putting the blame solely on women, because let me tell you, girlfriend, it's not just women. Men have abdicated their leadership and their protection roles too. But we're just talking about women in this video. Women have abdicated the home. Their hand is not ruling the world anymore, because their hand is not the one that's rocking the cradle. And so what happens? All of these secular, left-wing, socialist, Marxist, Leninist, communist, all of these ills infect our children, who we put into public schools, who we put into daycare at 6 weeks old, who we put in, you know, to the care of other people who don't have a vested interest in forming their hearts and minds and souls. So your hand, mother, is no longer ruling the world. They say that society is run by women and the world is run by men. Society is the bigger portion. Whether or not you think that's accurate, it really is. Let the men tend the world. My t-shirt, Patriarchy is Dope. You can get one. I'll link it below. It's not my sale, somebody else's. Patriarchy is dope, and men ruling the world is good for women. It's good for women because it allows us to craft society. It allows us to raise up our children. It allows us to be home and doing the things that we love to do, want to do, and have to do every day to make society strong. Society is falling apart right now because women stopped leading society. But our primary duty as mothers and wives is in the home. It is in crafting society from the ground up. It is being the foundation, the polis, the family of families. That's what polis is. It's a family of families. Because family is the bedrock of society. Family is the bedrock of a city, of a nation, of a world. And if we want to craft a world that we can be confident leaving our children in when we are old and gone and no longer present, then we have to start by taking the reins back and standing for family and strengthening the family. There's so much to say about this, and I could just go on forever, but this video is already long enough. I'm going to come back to this on another day, make another video. Go check out all of the other women's videos. I will link the playlist. This will be part of the playlist. Like them all, comment them all, comment on them all, subscribe on all of their channels, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell here. Drop a comment below. What are your thoughts about the breakdown of the family in society? What do you see as being the fix? Catholic or not, I don't care. If you are going to be unkind in the comments, don't bother, because I will just delete it. I don't even pay any heed to unkind comments. I know that this will probably ruffle the feathers of a few people, and I'm beyond caring about that, because there's way too much at stake as a society for women, for children, and for families. So I guess that's it. I will see you guys next time. I do have a couple of videos coming up about kitchen stuff, and that's going to be another series as well. So look for this video. I'm going to put it in a feminism series, and then there's going to be that kitchen mini series that I'm doing, and then I'm very, 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 very near being able to do my full reversion story, but it's just a waiting game right now for me. So as soon as I can do that, that will be up as well. And I'll probably link it within this feminism playlist too. So I will see you guys next time. And don't forget to go watch all of the rest of those videos and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.